Which content are you looking most forward to in Space Marine 2 Year 2 DLC? So, this was like a community poll that 292 votes. That's not too bad. As far as who voted here, I think this is fair enough. Almost 300 votes for this community poll. New campaign 54, 203 new operations, 35 new siege map. That's interesting. To be completely honest, you would think like new campaign would be the lowest and new siege map would be comparable to new operations. Which content are you looking most forward to in Space Marine 2? Alright, so for year 2, here's the thing. I personally voted for new operations here because I think these next operations seriously need to feel next level, to be completely honest. I think the operations we have right now are 9 out of 10. To be completely honest, like as far as the entire roster of operations together, the score I think 9 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10, maybe 8 out of 10. It depends. I guess Obelisk can be a little janky with new players, but still overall I'm very satisfied with the operations. However, I personally believe that the people who want to see a new campaign can be satisfied by the new operations if the new operations take a next level in the story. Because I mean, as far as the actual campaign story, the operations don't really have anything to do with that anymore. Like as far as like the actual storyline, it seems to branch off. With these next operations, we should have 3, I think. I've said this before. However, those were leaks. The leaks showed that there were 12 operations in total. So I think overall, if we do get 3 operations for year 2, that may seem low. However, if it does kind of track that not only are these operations going to branch off story-wise, but also, we're probably not going to see a campaign DLC, let's be honest. So, if that is the case, these new operations can be an extension of the new campaign, which I get it where it can be disappointing for offline players, which honestly, I really do feel like offline players are in a tough spot. So I'm kind of like, that's unfortunate. I'm kind of sentimental to that, I guess. But yeah, ultimately, this, it's hard to play offline games nowadays. That's just like kind of like a general aspect of gaming nowadays. But still, I think we need to keep in mind the improvements the game are going to see in year 2 is definitely going to benefit offline players as well. More operations, I would love to see that. That's definitely what we're going to see. I think operations have a lot going on the back of operations for year 2, to be completely honest, because if the year 2 operations are bad, year 2 is going to struggle. That's just going to be the truth. The new mode coming out for PvP, I think it's going to be very fun, but I don't know if it's going to attract the most players. New operations definitely going to be where we're going to see the most players. So I kind of wanted to talk about this really quick, because I think when people are talking about year 2, we've been talking a lot about cosmetics, but I don't want to get the message twisted in any way. Cosmetics are nice, but the most important part about year 2 is definitely going to be the content. And I do think operations have a lot going for them. As far as comparing operations to siege mode, I do think siege mode is very fun, but I think siege mode, the fun is within the impossible aspect of it. The actual atmosphere, I think, is fine for siege mode. But for operations, the atmosphere is a lot harder to nail down, considering we do go to different elements. We go through, these dust storms. In general, chaos operations feel like an entire different element because of corruption, the status effect. So I do think there's a way they can introduce new, unique mechanics, new, unique boss fights. We have talked about new weapons. I think it would be kind of cool to see like a rocket launcher in an operation specifically. But yeah, let's go into the community here. Let's go into the comments. Overall, 300 votes. I mean, it is what it is. Let me know in the comments what you think is going to be the most important thing about year 2 DLC. Siege condenses the operations experience into a burnout exercise for me. I just don't get the appeal when we could have much more engaging set pieces as demonstrated in operations/campaign. I think this is a fair sentiment, but I think overall when it comes to Siege Mode, it's about the challenge. Siege Mode is definitely like the hardest content in the game, just naturally from its base mechanics. It just increases difficulty as you go on. I think that is the unique aspect of it. So it's not so much about the, I guess, the operations experience. It's definitely not trying to aim for that. So I think if we do see something new for Siege Mode, it would be a new enemy type at the very least. Or like, for example, adding the Hive Tyrant into Siege Mode would be pretty interesting. But overall, I really don't think Siege Mode is aiming to be an operations experience. Yeah, so it's not, I will admit, dude, Siege Mode definitely takes a fair amount of time. We've talked about that literally today. But as far as it burning me out, I really don't feel that way. But there's definitely moments where I get the Siege Mode itch. And it's, you know, when you really want Siege Mode, operations just don't really cut it. But operations do cut it when you're like trying out different builds and everything. If I want to make sure I'm using one really good build, like Siege Mode is the place to go. Definitely. I think the Siege Mode experience is very unique. I think it's definitely an experience we needed in the game. But I do like operations just a little bit more when it comes to playing off meta. But when it comes to playing like Intimidating Aura, Invigorating Icon, yeah, making sure that I'm playing like the strongest build possible or whatever, I think Siege Mode is the experience for that. That feels so much better, because then it's just like, okay, well, how are you going to deal with 3 Hellbrutes? And I think it's a lot more fair for the game to throw that at you if you're running very strong builds. And it's honestly a lot more fun to do that than absolute operations. I guess it really depends, but absolute operations are still pretty challenging. But I think obviously jumping into operations, trying out new things, it's a little bit more approachable that way. I don't disagree with Siege being a burnout session, but it's a mode that everyone asked for in a horde shooter like this. Don't worry, 3 operation names have been data mined, so we'll get more ops in the future. But yeah, see, that's the thing. 3 operation names have been data mined. I have seen one comment said there was only going to be 2, but not too sure where they got that from. But overall, we definitely covered this months ago about the future leaks for the game. So yes, there were 3 operation names that were data mined. Now, I'm definitely expecting 3 operations for year 2. I really hope it doesn't, you know, if we get more operations, that would be nice, but it would likely, I'm just not too sure how many operations they can fit in this year. We are going to see a new mode in patch 10. So that's obviously not a PvE mode, and honestly, PvP has been asking for something. I'm very excited for this new mode. But dude, honestly, yeah, let me just, I am a little bit excited for that new mode. I am just a little bit excited. It's gonna be fun going back to PvP. But still, year 2, it's gonna be about the operations. Patch 10, new mode, definitely gonna be cool, but these operations in year 2 kind of have to feel like they're on the same level as something like in the campaign. For example, I just feel like if it is going to be 3 operations this year, we have 9 operations to play in year 1. 3 new operations might feel like not a lot for some people, but if they're very hard, maybe if they're challenging, but also if they feel like the stakes are high, and not to mention just very cool fights, I think that will go a very, very far away. I think that's obviously probably the most important part about year 2 content. New customization. So this was the highest upvoted comment, and obviously I think year 2 customization is going to be in a really good spot. We have talked about that recently, so no need to worry about year 2 customization. I think they're going to deliver for what everyone asked for from year 1. I think overall though, if year 2 operations are underwhelming, it's going to be harder to kind of stomach year 2. If no Siege Mode updates happen, as far as like improving it, that's fine. You know, any sort of quality life adjustments, that's fine. But like new content into Siege Mode, I'm not too sure how many people kind of want to see that as far as like a new map. But honestly, if year 2 operations feel not great to replay, that will definitely be worse for year 2 than if Siege Mode doesn't get any new content. I think Siege Mode quality of life definitely going to happen, but for again, for year 2, these 3 data mined operations. So we may only see 3, maybe we will see 4, maybe we will see 2. But regardless, they need to be very good operations. Like, they have to be the best operations in the game. That's how I feel. But yeah, there's probably going to be a lot of room for that because it will have a branching story arc, at least I think. But yeah, regardless, let me know in the comments how you guys feel about year 2 content, what content you want to see for year 2, and what is kind of like a make or break that they need to add into the game for year 2. Let me know how you guys feel in the comments, and thanks for watching.